Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. We have a lot of Montessori content, but a lot of just overall education and parenting information too. This video is a book review of a book called Say Something by Peggy Moss. It is a book I've read many times to children, and I have typically read it as a part of the weekly peace circles that we have. Tradition has been at our school to do a peace circle every week, usually on Wednesdays, middle of the week. And so we do role plays, we do discussions about what we should improve in the classroom. We sometimes talk about world issues carefully. All sorts of topics related to and around peace. And one of the things we do pretty regularly is read books. We have a great collection at the school of great peace books. And so Say Something is one that I have liked to read to children. I'd say it's geared a little bit towards a little bit older children. I don't know, maybe 5th, 6th, 7th grade, a little bit more, maybe 4th, 5th, 6th, something like that. But I read it to 1st through 3rd graders. I think they can understand it. And with good discussion, it makes sense to them. So the premise of the book is basically that there's basically somebody getting sort of picked on, and everybody just kind of watches and doesn't do anything about it. And then one day the main character is picked on, and they're kind of like, well, why doesn't anybody say anything or do anything about this? Everybody just stares and watches when I get picked on at school. There's a couple incidences, one I think on the bus and different points. And so they have to kind of go through that tough patch, that social learning to realize, like, oh, well, I didn't really stick up for anybody when they were kind of getting bullied. I only seem to care about it once it's me that's getting bullied. So, it's a great lesson like that. It's kind of a hard one, but an important lesson to learn. That, generally we should speak up and say things for justice and for what's right and for peace. And that's a hard thing for children. You can't expect them to do that perfectly or all the time. That's a big, tall order to ask, especially to speak up to adults or to speak up to other children who might seem bigger or older or a little scary. Whatever the case, it takes a whole lot of courage for a young child to speak up and say something. And in fact, they often know what's right and what's wrong, particularly age 6 and up. But even younger children, to some degree, they know when they're seeing something that's not right, but they don't always have the courage to say something or at the right time. I know for me, in my classroom, I'm an everyday classroom teacher. I taught all day today, and have for almost 25 years. So for me, children sometimes talk about something that bothered them the day after something happened, and that tends to not be as effective. I'm glad they do. I'm glad they bring up things. But it's harder to do much about something if it's kind of old news. But it's good information for an adult to have anyway, because you can look for patterns or look for ways to support children maybe who are ostracized or being picked on or something. Now, I'll put a big disclaimer. This book is basically like, always speak up for what's right, and that is a good umbrella kind of statement. But for younger children, and sometimes even older children, there is a time and a place. That's hard to teach. Sometimes children should not speak up. It's not safe for them to speak up. for example, if they saw people fighting in the park or something, they shouldn't automatically go over and start screaming at two adults who are fighting. That could be dangerous. They could put that child in a dangerous spot. So you have to be smart about it and think about it a little bit and choose wisely. It's important for all children, to have at least one adult they can go to with any issue. Hopefully parents or grandparents, and oftentimes teachers too. So sometimes you have to kind of bite your tongue a little bit and then go to an adult who can maybe address something more safely. Even adults need to do that sometimes, right? You call the police if something bad is happening, instead of confronting certain situations. So anyway, this book is great for the idea of speak up and say something, because what often comes up in our conversations is well, aren't you kind of part of the problem if you just sit there and watch? If you watch something yucky happening to a classmate or something and you just don't do anything or say anything, you're kind of then becoming part of the problem too. You have some level of responsibility to try to say or do something. And so again, this takes a lot of courage, but it's great for children to try to do and to understand the importance of, because it shouldn't just matter to them once they are the victim or something wrong is going for them. So I encourage this book to be read to children, and I would put the disclaimer with it for people to be safe and to be thoughtful about when they say something and how, to be safe about it. Now, usually, in a school setting and everything, we're talking about somebody getting picked on or name calling or taking of pencils or something like that. It's relatively minor in the whole scheme of the world. So generally in all those kind of cases, say something to that person, say something to an adult, say something to the perceived victim. Say, like, I noticed that happened, I'm sorry that happened, how can I support you, or what can we do? So it's becoming an advocate for peace is really important. So check it out. Check out the book if you'd like to. And if you're a classroom teacher or homeschool teacher or parent, give it a read, and I would suggest having it in your library. And traditionally I've read it once a year. I teach Montessori, so I have children for 3 years. In most cases, and so they're hearing the story 3 times, once each of those years, and often I feel like by the time they're 3rd graders, it lands pretty well with them, and it's the 3rd time of hearing it, and it's effective. It's great. It's a good idea and practice to speak up and to do what's right. That's really important. So check it out. I think you should try to read it to your children if at all possible. Let me know if you like book reviews. I would like to do more. I've got a whole list of books that I really appreciate and read with children, and I kind of have a lot of experience discussing the books, and children reference them. They look back at them independently and privately. I've got lots of ideas on books to share about lots of things, all topics, but particularly peace circle, peace topics. So let me know if you want more sort of simple book reviews. All right. Thanks for all the support, everybody.